Kim, welcome to Women Investor Wednesdays. I'm so happy that you're here with us tonight.
Thank you, Beth. It's nice to be here. Thanks for the invite.
Of course. So how this thing started was 5 years ago during COVID. I had learned that of all of the investors in commercial real estate, only 3% were women.
Yeah.
And of that, half were inherited or women that were signing on their husband's guarantees. So I thought that was awful. So I started interviewing my friends, asking if they invested. These are women that work in commercial real estate. And they're like, yeah, we invest. I said, well, where do you invest? And they said, the stock market. And I'm like, but wait a minute. This is free legal insider trading. Why are you not investing in commercial real estate? Well, I don't have $1 million. Like, okay, well, you don't need $1 million. Well, it's complicated and the math and it's risky. I said, stock market, risky, complicated. And so, and then women started saying, well, I don't know any other women doing it. And I said, okay, well, that's a problem I can solve. So I had a virtual summit where we had 100 women and I interviewed women like you and I who invest, I think 8 or 9 of them. And then we had breakout sessions and it was great. It was virtual. And then since then I've had 4 live conferences. And every year I ask the women in the room, you know, have you invested since you came last year? And every year about 10 more women stand up. And last year I asked in the room, we cap it at 250. I said, who in the room are investing with each other? And about 30 women stood up, which I was like, yay. So, but then I realized since I'm capping the conference at 250 for that intimacy, for everyone to meet each other and know each other and feel comfortable investing with each other, I figured I got to get the word out more. And that's when I decided to do Women Investor Wednesdays, which you are on now. And I think you're the 107th guest, maybe. So I'm so happy you're here. So you have a wide range of things we're going to talk about. For those of you that are interested and curious about cost segregation, we're going to talk about that near the end. But let's first find out about Kim's investing journey. So when did you start investing?
I started investing in 95. So
yeah, I was in 92. So we were babies then.
Yeah. It's very young. So.
And what was your first investment? Do you remember?
It was a second home. Yeah.
Okay, great.
So a second home. Actually, I think it was 97, but it was just my first time second home, which the first home is scary, right? But investing in your first primary residence, that's scary. And then it was just circumstantial. At the time I was married and, we had some work that was we were living in Utah. We had some work in Colorado and we thought, man, our kids are young enough and they're not in school yet. If we bought a second place, we can just travel back and forth, and that was way before, Airbnbs or short-term rentals or, any of that stuff. So we just decided to buy a second home. And so that was the first part of the journey and, didn't sell our primary residence. And that's how it began,
Was it scary?
Oh, it was petrifying. Yeah. Even just my first home, I was scared to death, Yeah. But the second home, I was like, oh my gosh,
What are we doing?
And once you buy your second home, it's like, man, that was easy. That was probably way too easy. Of course, back then they were giving loans to just about anybody. Right.
Right.
But, we were very responsible. But, we obviously did just fine. So, and then I got divorced. I got divorced in 2005. That kind of began, single mom phase, he was really nowhere to be found. Didn't pay child support. I was kind of left of my own devices and trying to figure out, what am I going to do, to support my kids. I was always an entrepreneur, so I had my businesses and things like that. And I just took all of that energy and just poured it into my businesses at the time. And so I started, I had multiple businesses that I was running. And so, essentially we just kind of kept going, and then I bought another place and then kept the old one and then just kept going from there. So.
Wow. Okay. So what's your portfolio look like today?
Yeah. So, love gas stations, car washes, have a hostel in Portland, mobile home parks, long-term rentals, short-term rentals, foreign property.
Oh my gosh. Wait,
Cannabis,
wait, wait.
cannabis
Okay.
warehouses.
Wow. So and are you the general partner of all of them, or are you LPs in some of them? How does that shake out?
Yeah, so LPs in a few, but mostly the general. I'm either the general partner or just a sole ownership. So my trust
Right.
owns
What's
most of the
your
properties.
craziest acquisition ever?
Craziest?
Yeah.
Um,
Or most surprising, or like had the most hiccups you didn't think, I never thought I was going to get this one.
Probably one of my mobile home parks. Yeah, that one was really interesting. And I'm not an emotional investor. I'm very lineal thinking. I don't let my emotions rule me. I live by like, hey, if this is meant to happen, it'll go through flawlessly. And if there starts to become issues, then that may be a sign for me to back out, right? So this deal was just great, and I did I love the buy, right? I'm a deal junkie. I love the buy. I love the LOIs. I love going back to the drawing board. I'm a finance and accounting, person. So basically, I look through the books and I do all the due diligence and the underwriting myself. And so I went into that one, and it was December 30th. And I had gone through all of the reports, and I said, this property is not worth that. And this is what it's worth. Here's the numbers in black and white. And it was a significant decrease. And they were having heartburn over it. The seller was just like, no way, no way. And I said, okay, that's fine, because we can go through this, and you've just been through, what was it, 8 weeks of due diligence that I put you through the ringer. So you can just pull out of the deal. That's fine, because I'm not emotional. It's your choice. This is what I'm willing to pay. Either that or I'm walking away, and it's December 30th. And so either that or, I really wanted this deal for year end, right? Because of the deductions and cost seg and all that stuff. So I kind of needed this deal, but I didn't want them to know that. And so I said, look, I will walk away if you don't want to do this deal. I says, but the problem that you're going to have is that you're going to go through this due diligence all over again with a new person, and they're going to find exactly the same things that I found, unless they're stupid. So if you want to try and take your chances of conning somebody else into what the value of this property really is, then you can go right ahead and do that. But I'm not going to be a sucker, and I'm not paying your price. This is what I'm paying for this property, because this is what it's worth in black and white. And if you don't like it, then you can leave, and I'll walk away. And it was December 31st. They signed the contract, and we got it closed. I mean, it was just hairy.
Amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing.
but yeah. So, I mean, I had to play hardball, and I mean, when you're women, I think everyone on this call would probably relate to this, that, when you're a woman and you stand up for yourself, you're a bitch,
Yes.
I mean, another guy is very assertive, a guy does it, he's assertive and he's strong and he's powerful, but a woman does it, you're a bitch, so
Yeah.
I'm a bitch.
Yeah. Yeah. I've heard that more than a few times. Like,
Yeah.
boy, you're tough.
Yeah. That's
because
okay.
I'm fighting on behalf of myself and my partners. Yes, I am.
Yeah, exactly. Because I'm smart. Oh, okay.
Exactly. Which is your favorite asset class?
Oh, it depends on the season. A lot of investors stick to what they know, right? But if I stick to if you stick to what you know, and that's great, but if you stick to what you know, you can end up somewhat limited, right? And so I tend to branch out. As I mentioned, we have a ton of different asset classes. I'm in, let's see, I have 15 cannabis warehouses. in
Wow.
3 or 4 different states. And I've been investing in cannabis before it was cool to invest in cannabis. And so this was, real estate driven. And this was back in 2000. I think I did my first deal in 2015. So about 10 years ago. Anyways, those are super fun, really good returns, a little bit more risky, but they, they pay for it. Right. But, times have shifted. So what I do with cost segregation is I get to see, we're running somewhere between 600 and 800 studies a month across the country. So I get to see, I have my hands in a lot of real estate deals. I get to see so many things. And so with that, many projects coming across my desk, I see trends that most people don't see. A lot of people are kind of stuck in a certain region or they're stuck in a certain property type. And so they don't see the trends that are happening around them because they're not involved in it. That's where I think I'm uniquely positioned to be able to see some of the trends. My mobile home trend, mobile home parks were great. Self-storage, I saw that trend. I saw multifamily way back when, because I've been doing this for 17 years. So the multifamily started to blow up. So it depends on, where we're at in the cycle. Right now, my favorite asset class is gas stations and car washes because they have special rules, and we have, of course, the bonus depreciation. And so we get a write-off on a massive amount of, depreciation for that asset class. So I am in the middle right now of looking for another one and picking one up this year. So yeah, that would be my favorite right now, but that's, that changes with the times sometimes.
For sure. You don't think that car washes have kind of been there, done that? Do you think it's still hot?
Yeah, well, it's really mostly driven. If you see the car washes popping up on every corner, it's because when that started, it was the bonus depreciation became 100% in 2017. And that really just kind of pushed. I think there's still some good deals, but cap rates are definitely compressed with that because people see the benefits. So they're willing to go in a deal that may not pencil out 100% because they're going to get a really nice tax deduction. And I mean huge amounts of tax deduction, right? The unfathomable amounts of tax deductions. So, you use that as a tax planning strategy. So if I can pick up a $2 million gas station and take a $1.8 million tax deduction and use that to offset income. And then I take, if I'm at a 37% tax bracket and I was able to write off 1.7 million, that right there just funded my equity, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So if I'm in a 37% tax bracket, which I'm not, but if I'm in a 35%, which I'm not, but that just put $630,000 in my pocket that I can turn around and use that to go buy another, couple of properties. So
absolutely,
it's the time value of money. So yes, you can use it. Yes, you're going to use all your depreciation up front, but you strategize and make sure that you can take that to the next level. And you're not just going to throw that money in the bank, you're going to reinvest it, right? So that's the key. So it really becomes a strategic plan for people who are utilizing gas stations and car washes. And so they're willing to give up a little bit of that cap rate and, the best deal in order to use that. Because in some cases, that's the only thing you can do to offset the taxes.
Right. Absolutely. Do you, on properties that you are the GP on and don't own it outright, do you syndicate?
No, usually I'm just a GP partner.
So GP with other people, but everyone's the GP.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Got it.
Just a couple people that I trust.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I don't like opening it up to a lot of.
And how many states are you invested in?
I would have to count, Beth. I don't know.
Like 10, 20?
Yeah, probably 10 states, close to 10. Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay. So let's talk about your business because everyone that watches this, we have 87 people live. Thank you all for being here live during your dinner hour.
Yeah.
And all of the rewatches, cost seg is an important factor and tool in investing.
Yeah.
And if you could walk us through it in case some people might not know how it works. And then talk about your business. So you've been doing this for 17 years.
Yeah. So yeah, I've been doing cost segregation for 17 years. I would, as an investor, regardless of what, and I've been a passive investor in real estate and I've been an active investor in real estate, right? Because of my situation where I work and what I'm doing. But I would always do a cost seg study on every property, because I can strategically use that to my benefit when it deems necessary. So, I've gone back and forth on a couple of them. Like, am I going to do this? Am I not going to do this? I did have a couple mobile home parks that I did really, really well on in a very, very short period of time. And I'm talking, returns that were ridiculous in 14 months. And all because I used the bank's money. And I took some really nice tax deductions, but I even sold them in 14 months. I still did the cost seg study, and I still was able to utilize the benefit, and I used it as a tax deferral for the 14 months. And then when I sold the property, I was able to do a lazy 1031 exchange because I didn't have it for 2 years. So I did a lazy 1031 exchange. So
I've never heard of a lazy 1031.
Yeah, lazy 1031 is.
I've heard of reverse. The hot new thing is reverse 1031.
Yeah. No, it's totally different. Essentially, a lazy 1031 is basically doing a 1031 without a QI. So, what the concept, a lazy 1031 exchange is where you sell a property. And in this is the key. It has to be in the same tax year. You can't span it over multiple tax years. But if you sell a property in one, let's say you sell it in January, and you buy a property in any other time in that same tax year, and then you do a cost segregation study, what happens is you take the losses from the cost segregation study on the new purchase, and you offset the gains and the recapture from the property that you sold in that same tax year. So essentially, they just kind of mold together, and you've done a 1031 exchange without having to do a 1031 exchange. The nice thing about a lazy 1031 exchange is you don't have to worry about the 45-day, identifying period. You don't have to worry about the 6 months. So the next time you have I'm going to do a 1031 exchange, and maybe that fails because you didn't meet the criteria for the 1031 exchange, all's not lost. You can still do a lazy 1031 exchange as long as you're in the same calendar year for filing taxes, right? So I love those. And that also alleviates, like, if you, because you have to own the property for 2 years to do a 1031 exchange. So if you're selling it pre 2 years, then you physically can't do a 1031 exchange. But I still did using the lazy approach. So the lazy 1031 exchange.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Thank you.
So do you do cost segs all around the country?
All over, every state, Puerto Rico, any U.S. territory. We even do foreign, but we just don't do site visits on the foreign. So
you might, if it's awesome enough. Bali. Would you do a site visit on Bali? I would.
Is the 1031 apply to every state? Yeah. So Pamela, on the 1031 exchange or the lazy 1031, it's not really a product. Essentially, you just work with your CPA and you sell the property. Like I said, you're pocketing the money. Now you're going to have a gain. You have to pay tax on the gain, and maybe you have some recapture. And so what you're doing is you then do a cost segregation study on the one you purchase. So it generates a bunch of losses, and then you can group those together, and then you take the losses and you offset the gain and the recapture from that. So yeah, you can do it in every state. It doesn't really matter because you're not limited to, it's not really a product. It's just it's a tax strategy.
Maneuver. It's a maneuver.
It's a maneuver. Yeah. It's a very sophisticated maneuver for those. And sometimes you might have to educate your CPA about it. But, a lot of the CPAs that I work with, they're like, oh my gosh, that's genius. I don't know if I coined lazy 1031 exchange. It feels like I have, because I've been using it for years and years and years, and I have never heard anyone else talk about it. But
I've never heard it, so I think you've coined it.
Okay.
I'm gonna give you all of the the
credit.
the credit.
Yeah.
So when you do a cost seg on a mobile home park, you are cost segging the stuff inside the mobile homes?
No. So it's a cost. It's kind of a mind fry, right? Because when you're doing a cost segregation, the people that don't know, when you're doing a cost segregation, we're going in and we're pulling that building apart and we're segmenting all the assets in the property and attaching a cost, right? So you buy a property, it's 20 years old, maybe it has carpeting and paint and electrical, mechanical, plumbing, flooring, all that stuff. You segment all the assets and you give it a value in accordance with the IRS regulations, because cost segregation has been around since the 1940s. Like, this is not new, right? It's been around for a long time. Very, very established. And so what we do is we break down all the assets. And so, in mobile home parks or RV parks, people are like, well, what is there to cost seg? Because there's not hardly a building. There might be some showers or bathrooms if it's an RV park, but if it's a mobile home park, you might have a laundry facility. What are you cost segging? But here's the key. So in mobile home parks, our number 2 highest performer class type in cost segregation. So right behind car washes and gas stations is mobile home parks and RV parks. This is why I bought them. I came home one day after I saw this trend coming and I go, oh my gosh. And I was remarried 11 years later. So I was remarried in 2015. And I came home and I told my husband, I was like, we have to buy a mobile home park. And he looked at me like I was freaking crazy. He's like, are you crazy? Literally said that. And I go, yeah, I might be, but I'm seeing this trend and I think we need to buy one. Well, we bought 2. So, ultimately, what happens in the cost seg is there are assets that you break out inside the property that are like finishes, like your molding and your flooring and your specialty electrical, your mechanical specialty, and those types of things. So we're breaking all of those assets out inside the building. They get shifted from a 27.5 or 39-year property and you move it into a 5-year bucket. Okay. Now, everything outside the property, your site improvements, like your landscaping, your irrigation, your fencing, driveways, sidewalks, all that stuff, that is a 15-year asset. So we're going to move it from that 39 or 27.5-year bucket and we put it into the 15-year bucket. Now you don't have to depreciate it over 39 or 27.5 years. You depreciate it over 15 years, but it gets better. I sound like an infomercial. But when you're able to shift those assets into those faster buckets, you're now eligible for the bonus depreciation, because bonus depreciation applies to any asset class that is 20 years or less. So now those buckets, the 5 and 15-year buckets, qualify for your bonus. Now, if you get 100% bonus depreciation, this goes out and says, the government says, if you're going to put it in a 5 and 15-year bucket, normally you would depreciate it over their respective buckets. But now that you have bonus depreciation, we're going to give you 100% of it up front, and you don't have to wait 5 or 15 years for it. Okay, so you get it all right now. Okay, so now I'm layering, right? I'm layering because I want to explain why this is so powerful. Let's just say you spend $1 million on a gas station, or let's call it a RV park, okay? We're going to shift, gas stations and car washes have special rules. Car washes and gas stations, maybe oil changes could qualify depending on if they meet a criteria. There's a criteria for each of them. If it meets the criteria, then the entire asset goes into a 15-year bucket. If it goes into a 15-year bucket, it's now eligible for the bonus depreciation. So you get 100% bonus. So let me give you an example. If you have $1 million in net of land depreciable basis, for every $1 million on a gas station or car wash, you're going to depreciate in year 1 $1 million. Okay, so that's a tax deduction of $1 million, and you just spent. And what you put in, 30 or 35% to get into it. So you basically just completely just washed out your liability, and it just paid you back whatever equity you would have to put in there, capital, right?
Right.
So that's car washes and gas stations. Now, mobile home parks are interesting because mobile home parks, most of it is all exterior site improvements. So most of it goes into a 15-year bucket. You think of a mobile home park, you think of the pads that the mobile homes sit on, regardless of whether you own the home or not. But the home, if you do own it, gets shifted too. That gets shifted into the personal property 7-year bucket. So your utilities under the ground, you have roads, you have infrastructure, you have maybe a dog park or an area for pets. There's so much you have, and yeah, there might be structures, but usually there's minimal structures, which is what drives the value. So in that case, mobile home parks and RV parks are going to generate of your net of land basis, okay, you're probably going to generate an offset into faster buckets somewhere between 65 and 95% of that. So of that $1 million, $650,000 to $900,000 is going to be a tax deduction in year one if you're buying it in a year that has the 100% bonus depreciation.
Wow.
It's super powerful. So car washes, gas stations, RV parks, mobile home parks, those 4 are the top 2 performers in cost segregation that's going to give you the most tax deductions and not bad cash flow and revenue.
For sure.
RV parks better on the cash flow than the alternative. But
yeah, my Josie, who works with me, they're RV travelers.
Okay,
and
yeah.
So they bought a plot or a lot in an RV park north of Orlando.
Yeah.
But I've said, go find one. Let's buy a park.
Yeah.
Let's go. So so about once a week, she sends me one to look at.
Yeah, they're great. And I don't know if you know Kevin Bupp. He's big in the RV park space. He's got, hundreds of podcasts on how to invest in mobile home parks and RV parks, right? Really great podcast. I've been a guest speaker on that, and I've done all their cost segs. So give a shout out to them,
Yeah, for sure. Is it BUPP?
Kevin Bupp. You can just type in Kevin Bupp and you'll see he's got a bunch of podcasts, but the one on mobile home parks is really good. Really talks about how to go through the due diligence, and
excellent.
It's amazing. That. Yeah. So
I'm going to put Josie on that right away.
Yeah, you should, because he's great. Sunrise Capital, he does a great job, and just shout out to Kevin.
So congratulations on getting remarried.
Oh, thank you. 10 years ago. Yeah. In fact, my 10-year anniversary is in 2 days.
Oh, congratulations. Are you doing something fun to celebrate?
Well, we bought a new property. We bought a new residential property, like our primary. So we just moved in, and we're still in the throes of, oh my gosh, trying to furnish and getting everything done. And of course it's tax season, so I'm dying on the vine right now, but yeah, we are going to do something. We'll go on a date, but we've got a big trip planned, but we have to wait. My daughter's getting married in like 15 days. So we got a wedding going on. We have a lot going on right now.
Where's the wedding?
She's getting married in Utah. Yep.
Awesome.
And I have a big conference I have to be at the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday before the wedding. So in San Diego. So I'm going to the conference, and then I'm going to fly to Utah.
You're crazy.
It's a little insane. Yeah, but we're doing it. So there you go.
Well, so for anyone that's watched, we're up to 129. So anyone that, so I heard you speak on another podcast where you said, sometimes your CPAs, I'm sure you guys have now that you've watched Kim, she's very knowledgeable about this stuff. And sometimes the CPAs are not.
Yeah.
So how can people reach out to you? And do you just take new clients? Like, how does that work? Because I would like some people to send you business or give you business.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. So probably the best way to get in touch with me, I'll put my email address in the chat.
Great.
And then just send me an email.
She's
right
very
now,
responsive, but not now because you're in what, October 15th. Well, after the conference, the wedding, and corporate tax season.
yeah. So and also yeah, there's a lot going on right now. So 10/15 is our big deadline, right? For all
Right.
of our,
Yeah.
so that is my email address. Let me make sure it's right.
So it didn't come up. Let me do it.
Did not. Okay.
Kim.
Okay. Oh, that's in the private chat. Okay.
Yeah, that's okay.
Sorry
What
about
is
that.
it?
Yeah, K Lochridge, and it's LOCHRIDGE.
Yeah.
I think if I join the chat, I can probably
At what?
at engineeredtaxservices.com. So K Lochridge, KLOCHRIDGE at engineered with the ED on the end.
I think I got it, except for it went capitals, but I got it. It's in there.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Thanks, Beth.
So
yeah, you can email me, and I do have, I have assistants that help me in my inbox, right? So I do have help, thank God. But I will tell you that right now, tax season, it's nuts. We're just trying to get through all of the, the last minute projects that people wait till the very last minute to do. And so we're getting through those 10/15, but please email me. Even if, just remember to email me. It might take me a little bit to get back to you, but I try to be super, super responsive. It's just this time of year is just a little bit tough. So
I appreciate you coming on the podcast before a wedding, during tax season, and before a huge conference.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. Well, I appreciate that. I love talking about this, and I love women investors. Okay. So, we have, there's a lot of women groups out there. Invest Her conference, is coming up. And, Liz Fairclough does a great job with that conference, and it's all women investing in real estate. It's just so refreshing to see that other women are really starting to step up and take this ownership and do what they love, right? And finding their passion. And I've found that I'm a deal junkie, right? I'm a total deal junkie. And we've turned my husband into the real estate professional. We retired him about 3 years ago. And so he calls himself the deal monkey. So I do the deal junkie. He does the deal monkey. So he does all the, I was like, I just dumped the deal on him. I was like, hey, we're just doing this deal. So now you do all the paperwork and you pay all the bills on it and you get everything set up with the
Hilarious.
tenants. So
hilarious.
He's my back office.
That's hilarious. Do you, of the clients that you do cost segs for, what percentage are women versus men in ownership positions of real estate?
Yeah, that's a good question. Not as many. Obviously.
More than 3%, right?
I wouldn't even be able to give a percentage because I wouldn't know. Because there's a lot of LLCs that I do, but maybe as a woman owner, and I'm not sure. But it is few and far between. I have a great, a friend who's a contractor up in Washington. Her name is Tracy Lamar. She's amazing, and she's just so powerful. And of course, Beth, Camille Renshaw introduced us and put us in touch with each other, and she's fantastic. And the women there at Artemis Bow. We're starting to see these really strong, powerful women in the industry that really understand real estate, been doing it for long enough, and now we're confident enough that we can talk about it. And I'm in my 50s, and I'm like, I'm kind of living it, and I love it, and I think I'm having more fun now than I ever did in my 20s and 30s. Right?
Sure. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, Camille, when she spoke, I think it was last year. She's so smart. I teased her. I teased her before we went on stage. I said, don't embarrass me because I don't know what you're talking about. Bring it down for some of us. But but I love her. She's doing great things, and we're trying. My goal when I first started this was to get the 3 up to 10, and then last year the theme of the conference was think bigger. So I announced boldly that we were going to take it to 30. Wow. And last year was our first profitable conference. So we made a whopping 39,000, but I've also committed to every dollar from the conference will be used to seed women's deals.
Oh,
Just
Beth, that's
LP.
amazing.
So I'm hoping that this year, when I ask everyone to stand up who hadn't invested yet and had since the conference invested, we have more than 10. We'll see. You know, I'm turning 65 in 2 weeks, and I'm having more fun than I've had in
Yeah.
my 30s for sure. But if you had one piece of advice to a woman that has what I call shekels, right? She's got some money saved and wants to dip her toe in, but hasn't yet. What would be your advice to that woman?
That's a great question. There are so many. I think I have a couple pieces of advice. Um, the first deal is always the scariest, but it's only new the first time you do it.
Great
Right?
advice.
So
Yes.
so you got to take the step, even if it's risky. And you know what? If you lose it, just make sure that you're not putting so much into it's your entire nest egg. Be smart, right? Just be like, hey, I'm gonna dip my toe in it. I'm gonna buy a single family home at first and just see how it goes, and then rent it out, and then see if I know what I'm doing and how much work it is and the due diligence and all that, and then start building up from there. But just do something. Do something and take the risk. A lot of people are so scared to take the risk. The second piece of advice I would have is don't believe everything you hear on the internet, because there is so much misinformation. And even AI has been reported that AI is so bad in some cases because it's pulling information from the internet, which is not always true. And it doesn't have the discernment to tell you whether it's truth or not. It just thinks it's truth because it found it in an article. That's frustrating. So AI is not all it's cracked up to be yet, right? It's coming, but don't believe everything you hear on the internet, because there are a lot of hacks out there. There's a lot of people telling you things that might get you in trouble. And just because somebody invested in a property once doesn't make them an expert. Okay. They shouldn't be, on camera.
Yeah.
And then the last thing that I want to tell you is that, I think, CPAs are worth their weight in gold, but please remember that CPAs are there to record what has happened in the past. They are not trained and usually not looking out for prospective tax planning. That's what a tax attorney does. So if you want someone to help you with tax planning, like real tax planning, there's a lot of CPAs that say they do it, but then they take your money and it's like every month. And then you're like, what are you doing for me? And give me a couple ideas and then that's it. Like, be careful, just be smart. The only thing you can do is educate yourself. Do not rely on other people. Take your education into your own hands and make sure that you are tested, tried, and true. And the last thing I'm going to leave you with is that I do believe that everyone should pay tax, but there's nothing in the code that says you have to leave a tip for the IRS. So I'm in the business of taking the tip off the table. I'm big on that. If I'm paying tax, there's something wrong, right? If I'm paying more than 10% tax, I did something wrong this year. So I'm using real estate to reduce my tax liability at every turnaround. And instead of writing that check to Uncle Sam, I am legally using that to put that money back in my pocket to build my portfolio and build my wealth and continue on my journey of investing. So
awesome. Love that. Take that tip off the table, everybody. Well, on behalf of the 152 live listeners, thank you all for being here on Women Investor Wednesdays. Reach out to Kim, obviously super knowledgeable about cost seg, but wait until October 16th.
That's okay. You can email me. I just might not respond for about a week. So,
well, congratulations on the wedding. Good luck at the conference. Good luck up until tax season's over. And I'll see you soon. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Beth. Thank you for everything you're doing.
My pleasure.